Okay, I hope everyone see the slide. And India Future Society already in the third year now, and we too means me, Avinash, and my and Siddharth Verma. We working together from almost 3 years, and already supported by uh, Ilya from far Israel from long term continue support us time to time, and other also some students from India and outside India continue supporting us. Until so far, we you can say we achieved something which still encourage us to continue work for the India Future Society to make this world more better, make this world have some longevity based achievement, longevity knowledge. Today, this talk we are going to have is basically based with the five speaker, and one of the speaker is actually because of the change of time is on the flight, so unfortunately he cannot join. Other than Anton Kolega from Russia, from Ukraine actually is Harisha, Dr. Ilya Stembler. I heartily welcome you to you are joining today with the India Future Society. What we did mainly till now and till the 3 years is one very important thing is that we are continue believe in India Future Society, continue believe in our commitment, and fully still support the idea we are following on the first day we started India Future Society, and also kept active our website. Till now, we published several articles based on H+, transhumanism, longevity, also several video, networking, life extension. These all also, we even tried crowdfunding campaign, especially supported
Avinash,
by Siddharth. Hello?
Avinash.
Yeah?
Yes, sorry to interrupt you. Uh, myself and Doc are trying to message you. I think you were focused on your presentation. You might need to pause your YouTube because there's an echo coming from your end.
Still the echo?
No, as in you need to pause any other speaker or sound you've got or any other sound source such as YouTube or whatever. Then continue.
Is the echo still? You can hear me clearly?
No, no,
Now?
read Doc's comment in the chat.
Oh, wait. Okay. Sorry. Oh, YouTube is not on. Okay. But anyway, let me check.
No, no, the YouTube is on, but you need to mute it at your end on your PC.
Yeah, it was not. I'm saying
Oh,
no
okay.
YouTube there.
Oh, because there's an echo. We hear you twice.
Oh, okay, okay, sorry. So, okay, let me
So
go
sorry for
again.
the interruption.
No, no, sorry for echo. This is the technological problem. Okay, I'm going again. I hope everyone fine. Yeah.
Yes.
Still echo? No? Fine? I cannot see, just I can listen you. So
It's
please
good.
answer in. Okay, great. So I'm just saying that till so far, the most important thing we did is we still active. And in case of those activists in the field of transhumanism and in the field of longevity, the one of the basic problem we find or we saw that people just left in between because more other priorities. I think we also doing other priorities, but still we keep active and keep trying to do something in support of other people to make these ideas more reach to more people and to build some better world. Till now, we published several articles based on transhumanism, as I saw several things related to life extension, We also promoting longevity time to time, and this all including some crowdfunding campaign by Maria, which is in USA and doing amazing work, and as well as technological step, which is quite fast developing at the moment related to artificial intelligence. Um, our report, and with the help of Dr. Ilya Stemmler, we recently joined, actually more than a couple of months ago, we joined International Longevity Alliance, uh, and recently also submitted our report to them regarding the last 2015 activity, which soon going to publish by ILA together from other alliance. We also attracted in terms of number of visitors on our website is also quite good. We have more than 50,000 visitors overall actually a year, and that seems and that reflect that people are interested in this topic. And this visitor and maximum part of this visitor are from India, so that also means that people start thinking about it, and that's very good sign for us. We time to time conduct a future day actually every year, and this is our third future day we are conducting today. We delayed a week, but still we continue with this. We also conduct the activity on longevity day physically and as well as online as possible, and as we are able to do based on try to push our other priorities. We continue active on social media stuff like Twitter and Facebook, so that people with the social media platform continue join us and become a part of us. Last year we also became a part of H Plus magazine, actually Humanity Plus, so that we also keep attracting people from other country. And other than that, our organization, which is registered from government, trying to get some benefit from the government time to time if possible, but still like I say, we are trying. But the most important thing, we are keep trying, and I hope one day we are able to do something better. If you see this continue the today future work, future day, sorry, future day we are celebrating is also mentioned by some future day website, which is actually belongs to this future day event, and they mention it that we are going to organize it on the last um, week, but it is changed to now. This need to be changed. Overall, I would like to say that India Future Society doing a nice work in terms of keep active and keep trying, and we're still trying as a part of Future Society. Myself and my colleague Siddharth Verma keep trying to make this Future Society to do what is exactly we commit on the first day, what we exactly commit on um, our society's rules and regulation, what we commit from the people in the day first we promise them, and what we committed to other people we are joining time to time, that we keep doing a better work and keep trying to convince people that these ideas are reality of the future, the face of the future, and hopefully we can also become a part of major part of this phase of the future. And as India, as we heard and read the report time to time, that maybe India will be the one of the biggest power in the future. So if India could contribute more toward this field, then yeah, I will be surely can say that India, I don't know it will be become a huge power or not, but at least it become the major part of progressing in the science, progress in the science. There are some recent work by my colleague by joining conferences like IFA 12th Global Conference in June 2014. He joined. He also conducted several other events physically and continue doing their work. Even he's quite busy with his other stuff, other priorities, and keep doing the good work. If you see his photo, you can see he's mentioned himself as is here. If you don't know him already, just for those people who don't know. Our report also continue published on different media, and so that what means that they are also thinking that what work we are doing is something which need to be recognized, and yeah, these people continue pushing us or continue encourage us to do more better. Our live stream today's online future day conference this is the last year conference, and the today's conference which I am doing now with the other speaker is also live, so other people can see, ask questions, and we are welcome for that. We also share our slide or our all content as much as to reach to the people with different social media platform. For example, a slide share here, like sharing some slides, and what we find that a lot of number of people just go and check at least. Maybe they are searching on the Google to find us. Recently, we also did one very interesting thing. It's actually a contest where people need to make a short film based on life extension, and we announced it. And this event already conducted, where someone who won the contest going to have almost 2,000 euro. We're also going to conduct, which a date change at the moment, a conference in the Jawaharlal Nehru University in New Delhi. Is called Super Longevity Conference. It was supposed to be on October 3 and 4, 2015, but because of some circumstances, now it's changed to this year. I mean, in 2060, but still we are going to conduct this. We are all a major part of this conference, so we are still going to conduct this conference. Like I said, we started crowdfunding campaign, and still on the way. What we did, we are hopefully thinking that it will be successful, and we keep doing such kind of campaign in future also with different aspects and different requirements, and I hope people will support, especially from India. Like I say, that we continue encouraged by different media platform like Longevity for All. We mentioned by writer of this article that what we are doing. If I'm not wrong, it's a report of about our last year International Longevity Day related. Thank you for listening, and please encourage us, support us to continue, keep trying and keep active, so that we can make hopefully in future some little, at least some little contribution toward the face of the future. Thank you. If any questions, so I welcome.
Thank you, Avinash. Thank you. Just, I want to say, I'm very proud to be part of India Future Society, just a regular member, and I really admire your work, your perseverance, your consistency. You keep going at it, and, you're doing an important work for India, for everybody. You are kind of connecting hub with the global transhumanist movement. I think you are the first transhumanist organization in India, openly transhumanist organization, probably still the only one registered, and I think you're doing very important work, and please continue. So whatever encouragement I personally can give you, I always will. Very proud to be part of your organization. Thank you.
Thank you, Ilya. And actually, you are the major encouragement for us, to be frank, to be continue helping us in different way, even wherever we needed you help us. So that's very important part, and that's why we are still active. People like you out there, and importantly and mainly, I will say you, to encourage and support us. That's why we keep doing, even slow, even like a turtle walk, but yeah, keep moving, keep going. Thank you for your support.
Yes.
Thank you for support,
Okay.
Haris, also. So, as I suppose to, if because Hari is from Singapore, and I afraid he will fall down because sleeping. So I I want that Haris will go on first
No, no, it's all
before
right.
he sleep.
No, it's okay. I mean, Doc can go first. I mean, I can close
Okay,
the. Yeah.
okay. So please, Ilya, Dr. Ilya Stambler, I will welcome you to speak something on the occasion of Future Day.
Thank you very much. I'll try to be brief, though Harish, you made a bad choice. You may talk in an hour and a half or later, but I'll be really, really brief. I gave this talk, similar talk, several times already for India Future Society on several longevity days and several future days. So I will not repeat the same talk again. But I'll make something a little different now. Will not show the slides, but generally the framework is always the same. One of the major parts of our future will be increasing longevity. There is no doubt about it. It may be radical longevity or just a significant increase in longevity. But it's sure coming. It's coming for India. It's coming for Israel, where I am from. It's coming for all over the world, and we have to prepare for it. We have to think about it, and also work to make it available for more people, for as many people as possible, for ourselves, for our loved ones, for everybody, and also try to make sure that the longevity that is coming will be healthy longevity, and not just increasing years, but also increasing life years. And there are three major components in the pursuit of longevity, in the discussion of longevity. First is the idea of feasibility. Is it even possible to extend human longevity? Isn't it set in stone? Isn't aging some inexorable phenomena that we can do nothing about it? Second, if it is feasible, do we want it? Is it desirable for us? And the third part, if it is possible to achieve, and if you want to achieve it, what should we do to achieve it, right? Should we just sit and wait until somebody brings us longevity pill at a discounted price, or should we just do something to make this possible for us and as soon as possible? And the answer for all these three questions is yes, yes, and yes. Yes, extending longevity is possible. Yes, we want it. Yes, we should do something about it. So basically, I could just finish my presentation and let Harish talk. But there is a little bit more to this. As they say, the devil, the God is in details. First of all, if it is feasible, if it is possible to achieve healthy longevity, then how it is possible, what interventions are possible, what technologies are possible, if it is desirable for us, how will it really affect our society, our individual life, our community. And the main question is, if it is possible and desirable, what should we do to get there? And that's really the real question, because the question of desirability and possibility are really easy. Okay, to live longer as possible, and we want it. And now what? What you are supposed to do about it? But still, it is impossible to talk about desirability and about the action that we should take without first understanding that it is really possible. To understand what kind of science is there, what kind of technology is there. So here recently published a short popular article in Humanity Plus magazine, and also it will be soon published in IEET, in Institute of Emerging Technologies. It is called The War on Aging, an update from the front lines, or another name, some technologies to intervene into aging process. And I made a brief synopsis of the different technologies that are possible. I will just go one by one very quickly, also to give some encouragement to show people that it is possible that science is beginning to emerge, that we need more of this science, we need to invest in this science. But there are some very encouraging developments already. So first of all, very recently in December last year, the American Food and Drug Administration approved a new study called TAME, Targeted Aging with Metformin. It is probably the first time ever that a regulatory agency approved a study not against particular diseases, but against the aging process itself. Because they said that if we intervene into the aging process, they will postpone all the diseases. We kind of reduce all the morbidities, all the diseases, disabilities that aging causes. That's a major breakthrough, even though the drug is old and has some problems, not very effective. But the idea that you can intervene into the aging process itself is very promising. Now, also recently, in November last year, the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, approved another therapy that is dedicated to boost the immune response of a person. So it's again a major shift in perception. You don't just target one drug to one disease. You don't look for magic bullets. You try to boost the entire system, the entire health of the person, to seeing person as a whole, and in this way you postpone also particular diseases. There already there are already several drugs emerging that are capable to do this, to intervene into the aging process, to improve the general health for the longer period of time. For example, the drug rapamycin that was shown to increase the lifespan in mice by 30–40%, and also already in human trials it was shown to improve the outcomes for Alzheimer's. So it is just the first bird, as they say, the first example of many such drugs, many such treatments that are possible. Once again, please don't go to the apothecary, to the pharmacy, and buy tons of rapamycin and start eating it and hope to live forever. But this just shows the proof of principle that yes, it is possible to intervene into the aging process with some general health benefits. A very promising study occurred in 2014–2015 with connecting the blood systems of mice, the so-called parabiosis process, and in this way the blood of young mice was able to rejuvenate the old mice. And people are talking what substances cause this rejuvenation, if it's the growth differentiation factor 11, or if it's something else. But once again, it's important to see it as a proof of principle. Yet, yes, rejuvenation is possible. There is a new class of drugs that are being tested called senolytics. That are able to clear the aging cells from our bodies, the so-called senescent cells, and in this way they also eliminate the senescence-related morbidity, the senescence-related diseases. Very promising direction now. Another compound which is rather well known is resveratrol. Of course, we know that resveratrol was not proved always effective, that there are some contradictory findings about its effectiveness, but still it's important proof of principle. It was shown to work on some longevity enzymes such as sirtuins, and it is a part of a major class of anti-aging or rejuvenation therapies that involve the energy system of our body, mainly the nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, the NAD/NADH system, and there are now several therapies being developed, the so-called NAD replacement therapies, that are shown to also improve health and longevity in mice. There are several interventions to alter the oxidative reduction status of our body, or pH status, bicarbonate, for example. The entire field of regenerative medicine, the use of stem cells to regenerate the body by various means, either by direct transplantation of stem cells to regenerate the failing organs and systems in our body, or just using the chemicals secreted by stem cells to improve the immune system, or even growing entire body parts on scaffolds, or on three-dimensional printing, or on using self-organization principles, or bioreactors. These are very encouraging. They show that yes, it is possible to regenerate the organs and tissues that are being lost to the aging process. And another very recent development that seems very encouraging is now it seems possible even to induce regeneration by the use of drugs, by the use of medications. For example, regeneration was induced by the use of certain drug that increased the proliferation of our stem cells by inhibiting prostaglandin breakdown. It's one of the mechanisms that stops the proliferation of our cells. And once again, it's very early proof of principle, but it is very encouraging, very promising. It shows that we don't even need the actual stem cell, the actual organs. We can just someday in the future we can take some drug and be able to regenerate ourselves. A very important part of regenerative medicine is directed to regenerate the thymus. Thymus is the endocrine gland, also a gland that is responsible for the production of T cells of the major part of our immune system. So basically, when we're threatened by infection, we're defended by the T cells. And with aging, there are less and less T cells produced by the thymus gland, and that causes the major impairment of the immune system in the aged, and also their increased susceptibility, increased incidence of communicable of infectious diseases. So if we learn to regenerate the thymus gland, we not only combat diseases of aging, chronic diseases, but also improve the ability to combat infectious diseases. Sometimes people say, please don't waste your money on aging-related research. People are suffering from infectious diseases, especially in poor countries. We should put our money there. But this research on thymus regeneration shows that if we learn to intervene into the aging process, then we also learn to combat infectious diseases. So one does not exclude the other. All these developments come together in synergy. And yes, there are proofs of principle that we can regenerate the thymus gland, for example, by expression of a certain gene called FOXO, and now also even by some pharmacological means, by some hormones such as FGF21. There was very promising recent study that showed that this hormone rejuvenated the thymus gland. Another area of research is to attempt to regenerate our body, to regenerate our organs and tissues by extending our telomeres through the use of telomerase enzyme. Also an important and promising area. Some good results were again obtained in mice with significant increase of lifespan and decrease in diseases. A huge area of research concerns mitochondria, improving the function of mitochondria, cellular respiration, because let's be honest, 100% of deaths are caused by lack of oxygen supply. When people stop to breathe, they die. So one major way to increase our lifespan, to extend life, is simply to allow people to breathe, to improve their cellular respiration, their mitochondrial function. And there are very important, promising advancement in this regard. There are certain blockers of oxygen production, which still maintain good cell respiration. There are certain ways to direct antioxidants into the mitochondria to eliminate the sources of oxidative damage from the source. I'll not go into the entire review, but just to give you a taste of what is going on. There is a lot of studies on anti-inflammation. People talk about inflammaging. That is, that inflammation, chronic inflammation, is a major part of the aging process. And by diminishing inflammation, you also postpone the aging process. But it's not so simple. And every coin has two sides, and every sword has two edges. So sometimes inflammation is good. Sometimes it helps regenerate our tissues. So you have to be very careful, not to throw the child with the water. There are several important studies on the so-called proteostasis or protein stability, which is also very important in aging. Aging often derives from so-called protein aggregates from cross-links when molecules, macromolecules like proteins and other kinds of macromolecules have become linked together by so-called advanced glycation age products or ages. So basically, the body turns into caramel. It becomes the proteins become linked together by sugars. So there is an important direction of research trying to break those links, those age links, those cross links, to restore the flexibility of the tissue. Many people try to keep the body chemistry in balance by taking supplements or conversely eliminating certain substances from their body. But here we have to remember a very important principle. The dose makes the poison. Basically, we have to know exactly what elements our body needs and supplement them. When you take too many supplements, you can do more harm than good. That's probably why most supplements fail to produce any significant health improvements. But at least there is the idea that yes, if in case you are deficient in some elements, you can supplement them. There are works done on epigenetics, that is regulating the gene expression. There are discussions of epigenetic rejuvenation. Basically, we don't intervene into the genes themselves, which can be dangerous, but we regulate the expression. We make certain genes work and silence certain other genes. Also, a very important area of studies. The interventions already emerging at the nano level. There are certain nanoparticles such as buckyball C60 that were shown to increase the lifespan in mice. There are already emerging certain prototypes of artificial immune cells, certain drug delivery systems using nano devices. It is very important to note that life-extending interventions or anti-aging interventions don't have to be necessarily biological or chemical. You don't have to take drugs or inject cells. You can do this also by physical means, like for example, changes of temperature, body temperature, or changes of oxygenation, or some forms of electromagnetic stimulations. All these are also areas of study in anti-aging. And a very important point, finally, regarding the feasibility is it is simply impossible to talk about curing aging or intervening into aging without understanding what aging means, how you can diagnose it, how you can measure it, because only this way you can actually test the effectiveness of your interventions. So here too, a huge work is being done on biomarkers of aging, on trying to understand, trying to measure aging to diagnose aging. Still, you cannot yet go to the pharmacy and buy all of this all these interventions for reduced prices. But at least the science is there, and the main point of our longevity advocacy is simply to tell people, look, the science is here, please study it, please invest more into it, because that is the only way these basic fundamental studies can eventually come to the pharmacy, can become available to people, and not just rich people, but to all the people. So that's basically answers the question of desirability, and yes, if it is possible, then we want it for ourselves. And all those talks that people will be bored, and if they live longer, or the world will be overpopulated. No, if people are healthy, if they have interest in life, they will not be bored, and they will continue to work and supply for themselves and for the society. So the answer to the desirability problem question is very easy. Now there comes the question of normative action. What should we do about it? How can we actually get it? And this is where it gets interesting. You know, first of all, we have to set this goal. We have to set the goal of health longevity for ourselves, for our loved ones, for the society at large, and then we can start thinking what should we do about it. But without even setting the goal, we don't even begin to form a program. There can be several potential directions, very preliminary. First, you have to increase funding for this kind of research. Second, you have to provide incentives for this research and for people who do this research, so they don't go starving, and don't change the workplace and go to business, or I don't know, or to become janitors. So you have to feed the people who do this kind of research. And third, you have to provide institutional support for this kind of research. In very few places in the world, biology of aging is even considered a part of the curriculum. People study immunology, people study anatomy, not aging. Aging is not a part of human biology. People don't age; they just develop until they're 20, and then that's where biology and medicine end. No, people continue to live; they become old. So we always have to study the entire human life course from birth to death, to old age. So that should be a major part of study. And accordingly, there should be special institutions, special programs dedicated to aging research, to longevity research. There is a very beautiful article that I hope will be soon published at IIT by Professor Kalluri Subbarao, whom all of you in this chat know. He is an honorary member of Indian Academy of Sciences and director of the Aging Research Center in Hyderabad. And he asked the question, should India promote scientific study of aging? Because, as he pointed out, people in India don't think that it is a worthy subject, or it is somehow contradictory to Indian tradition, to study aging. That people should die as soon as possible and go to nirvana, or I don't know what kind of ideas are being advanced. And Professor Rao shows that no, the pursuit of longevity agrees perfectly with Indian tradition, with the Ayurveda, with Rasayana. So it is a very, very Indian pursuit, and the more people in India and everywhere become interested in it, the better this field will develop in India, and the sooner its fruits will become available to people in India and elsewhere. So that's basically some direction of the of normative action what we can do, but once again every one of us can do his own thing. For example, join India Future Society or other societies that promote longevity as much as we can. We don't have much means, we don't have much abilities or finance for that, or even time, but as much as we can promote it, we will promote it, so it will be sooner available sooner to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ilya. Thank you for your nice talk. For the sake of some people's question me sometime, and as well as we are on live YouTube, and as well as we'll record it later to someone can watch on YouTube. I have two questions related to longevity, or you can say that these are the very basic question any longevity activist maybe ask at time of the period. The first question is that when we say we should support longevity, then people ask the question that why we should support. Like the question is that people think that if people become more longer in the age, for example 200 years, they think that the population problem will increase. This is a very basic question people just come up with when they talk about longevity. And the second thing, when they think the population will become more, and maybe someone have age more than 200 years old, someone can live more than 200 years old, then how he or she will survive? I mean, if he or she will have a more longer job, then how those people who are younger than them will get the job or something, I mean, more like a basic needs. So how you will answer them? And I mean, it's more like a question to answer those people who are watching us, or maybe in future they will see our video. Please.
Yes, thank you. Great questions, really, and they are being asked all the time. I've been in longevity activism for 15 years, maybe. Every person who is not an activist asks this question. You just think for a minute about the subject, and you immediately come up with these ideas that this is what is supposed to happen. But when you think about it for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, you understand that all these are really fantasies, that they have very little grounds in empirical evidence and what's going on in this world. First of all, about the overpopulation, it's a complete myth. It's completely a complete fantasy that people just cook up. It comes from the 18th century British, even earlier British philosopher Thomas Malthus. The Malthusianism, this idea that the means of food supply will always lag behind the increase in population. So there will always be famine, there will always be war. That's the same idea. And an additional point in his theory is that if people live longer, that will make the problem even worse. That's a complete nonsense. It never happened in history. The increase in food productivity always went faster than the increase in life expectancy, increase in population. Of course, there were famines, and we know there are several famines in India, but that was terrible famines, but that was by no means due to technology, to health technology, to people living longer. That was actually mainly because of mismanagement, because even of some some commercial interest, or even some greed, some evil doing. That was the cause of famine, not the health technology, the life extension. So we should absolutely not expect overpopulation to be the result of life extension. We see, on the contrary, in countries where life expectancy increases, like in European countries, in Western countries, we see there the life quality increases dramatically, and there is no sign of overpopulation. Overpopulation is more a problem of poor countries. When people have more children because they are simply afraid to die, they overcompensate for high mortality with high fertility. So when the quality of life improves, it is always automatically leads to a decrease in population. almost automatically an improved quality of life. So if we want to actually combat overpopulation, to improve quality of life, also in India and everywhere, we have to increase longevity. So that's the answer to the longevity problem. And about the generation problem, you know, it is composed of two contradictory parts. First, people are worried if you know, if the old people will hug all the jobs, you know, will take all the jobs, and there will be no place for the young people. And another problem, you know, just think about it. Another problem that people fear is that there will be those old, decrepit people, and how will young people care for them? So you see, one or the other, or the old people hold all the jobs and don't let the young people work, or they don't work, and where do we get the young people to work for us, right? So it is once again, it is a little bit rational thinking to imagine the future in this way. What is likely to happen with extending longevity is that people will, yes, they will stay longer in the workplace, in the workforce. That it is great. You know, old people are people also. They want to work. They want to contribute to society. You know, they want to produce, and that will be possible with extending longevity. But also young people, they will have a place of their own. It is a complete myth that old people, you know, take the jobs of young people. Usually young people find their own jobs or work in different niches and different areas. So that also improves the ability to develop for the society, the increasing longevity both for the old and for the young. So it counters another myth that increasing longevity will bring stagnation to society. Will people have the same ideas and there will be no progress? No, the old people will continue to learn and will actually be able to create more from their experience, and the young people will look for new areas, you know, even to compete with the old. So from both the directions, you can expect development for society. So basically, these are the answers, but of course, let's wait and see. You know, I just want to get there, and if there are some terrible problems, I prefer to be alive and see them than to die and not to see them. Yeah.
I have one more question. It's more like also my question, and I think some other people like me have the same question. When an engineer, you know, like to involve in longevity as an activist or as a researcher, he want to take a step in, but he take a step out because he just think that okay, it's more like a biological stuff, and it's kind of true also. But what do you will say about it? I mean, what's your answer for them?
Well, first of all, as an IT person, you are in perfect place to advance longevity research, because you know, as I mentioned even earlier, you cannot intervene into aging. You cannot treat aging without being able to measure it, you know, without collecting all information from it. So it is a well-known idea that biology is becoming information technology very rapidly, because it's basically the same engineering as you do, just with a little bit more wetware than the hardware. So all the engineering capabilities that you learn can be applied for biological research, for aging research. So basically, I personally expect that the more IT we have, the more longevity research will advance, simply automatically, simply because there will be more computational capabilities, more abilities to understand the aging process. And there will be additional. You don't have to work on drugs or on cells. You can provide longevity treatments by physical means, as I mentioned, even by brain-computer interfaces, by electromagnetic stimulation, by developing some engineering appliances, some assistive technologies. All these things are possible. So, you know, we have to understand our goal is longevity. How we get there is a different question. We don't know how we get there. There can be 1,000 means, and and only some of them effective. But we have to study this problem. We have to increase knowledge. Also as an IT person, the thing you're doing with the website is great. We just simply increase knowledge. You see, increase exposure of people to the field of biologists, of non-biologists, of humanitarians. Just to get people acquainted, because as a mass, as people, we have the power to demand more investment in longevity research. We don't all have to work there, but we can all demand it, because demand breeds supply. People simply don't know what they want, right? If we create this demand, then the supply will follow. So all these abilities are available to you as non-biologist.
Thank you for your awesome answers. And Harish, do you like to ask something?
No, I'm good.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Ilya Stambler, to be part of today's Future Day, as well as your nice ideas and nice encouraging talk for me, as well as always for me and Siddharth, as well as for other people who are watching and or who will watch later. And thank you again that you joined today with us.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you for doing this. Thank you.
now I would like to invite um, Harish Shah from Singapore, a proud Indian as well, who also known as a Singapore futurist, to say something or to share something on the occasion of Future Day. Please, Harish Shah, welcome you.
Thanks, Avinash. I just want to clarify, I'm Indian by ethnicity, I'm Singaporean by nationality, so as to not leave any confusion there. I'm a very proud, patriotic Singaporean as well, and I guess that's my fierce patriotism towards Singapore is what has earned me that nickname of being the Singapore futurist, because usually when it comes to any talks about futurists and future studies in the past, Singapore was a place that was always discounted because, yeah, if you ever heard of any futurist from Singapore, he probably wasn't born there, he probably wasn't raised there, he probably did not start as a futurist there. So I rocked the boat, and yeah, so that's how I earned that name. But thanks for the introduction, and I'd also like to thank Dr. Stambler for the talk and presentation he's just given. I'll do my best not to overlap on anything he's talked about. Besides, I'm not coming from a longevity perspective, but more from a hardcore, plain simple future studies perspective. But the topic of my conversation today is going to be on conflict and health. And health is an area where definitely a lot of what Dr. Stambler has spoken about today is where I see a possibility of an overlap. And I also see a possibility of a debate of sorts playing out. I want to warn the audience up front that this year for this platform that I would like to thank IFS for inviting me again to, as it has done in the previous years. I'm going to be completely gloves off. Given the times we are in, given the challenges ahead that we are facing now more so than ever, that are more visible, that we are closer to. And as a futurist, I generally look at where we are going in terms of technological evolution, where we are going in terms of business changes, where we are going in terms of economic transformations, where we are going in terms of ideological or political changes around the world, and how they impact our lives, how they'll impact future generations. And we're talking about social changes, social transformations, social evolutions that come about, how our lives will change, and so on. And that would be of interest, of course, mainly to commercial organizations as to how they strategize for long term in terms of their product commercialization, their branding, their marketing, their sales tactics, how they develop their people and whatnot. But it's rare that I get down to the basics of the broader macros, as ironic and paradoxical as it sounds, where we talk about the core basics of why we study the future and how we study the future and what we use in order to then connect with the logic for the type of strategies that are needed ahead, whether you're a governmental organization or a non-governmental, non-profit organization or a business organization, in terms of how you want to set the course for whoever you are or whatever you're running ahead. That said, I'm going to switch over to the slides with screen share. Um, this is the presentation that I prepared, and I promise you I've got no more than a total of 4 slides, including this one. And the topic I've chosen this year, and or that I've agreed with IFS to share this year on this platform, is the road ahead for humanity. Basically, where is humanity or human race, or where are we? Me speaking this, the organizers is IFS organizing this, Siddharth and Avinash, Dr. Stamla, everyone who may be watching this, and everyone we are connected to. Where are we headed? And there are 2 core areas, key elements that are defining our journey ahead from here, that are primary determinants of our course ahead, and that is the human conflict and health. And I'm going to start talking about this with human conflict. And as I promised, it's gloves off. I'm not going to be politically correct. I'm not going to mince my words. I'm going to be pretty direct, and I'm not going to skirt around, or I'm not going to evade controversy. The heart of the problem that we are looking at ahead, and that my personal take, professionally as futurists, is that we have not understood or appreciated the gravity of this problem enough as a human race of 7 billion people. We just have not. One of the biggest challenges ahead is terrorism. And I'm talking about, well, if you're watching this, you may be thinking, well, we all know, the Islamic State or ISIL or ISIS, whatever they want to call themselves, or you want to talk about Al-Qaeda or whatever other sort of organization around the world that believes in converting people with the power of the gun, or killing people because they don't share the same beliefs, or they do not accept the supremacy of the barbaric organizations. But if we had appreciated the gravity of this issue, the subject of human conflict, particularly in the form of terror, particularly along the lines of people hijacking religions or hijacking ideologies to justify the means that they are embracing to dominate, to take territory, to impose their will and rule upon other people. Specifically, you can tell that I have ISIL or ISIS, whatever they want to call themselves, in mind when I articulate this, when I speak about this. If we had taken them sufficiently seriously, or understood really the gravity of what they are about, what they're likely made of, or what they are evolving into, I do sincerely believe that the human response, through the leadership of nations, through the powers that be, that dominate the major international politics of our world, would have been very, very different. The approach would have been very different. Or these characters that are haunting human society, that are threatening human society, that are threatening all our common future. Right now, most of us may be sitting very comfortably in most of our countries, most of our cities, most of our homes, with our loved ones, with our friends. We will be very, very distant from much of the troubles that these people are creating. And we may not quite think that all our futures, the collective future of the world, the collective future of the human race, is at stake, at risk, at the hands of such organizations or such people or such thought trains that these people carry or permeate or parade or spread. But truth be told, we are in trouble because we do not quite collectively understand well enough at least the people who are in positions to make adequate decisions to deal with this problem, they do not quite understand well enough how dangerous these organizations are. As a futurist, my job is to study the future. How I do it, I look at patterns, I look at logical sequences. I'm not a mathematician, I'm not very good at math, but yet it's not difficult to see how things add up, that the past plus present equals the future. Now, if you look at how from the past, from non-existence, a lot of these characters have come into being. How from the past they've changed status quo in the sense that where certain areas, certain geographies were distant from some types of problems that certain types of individuals in the collective human society have been capable of creating, where these areas were once immune, how fast these areas have become epicenters. Just look at France. How many terrorist attacks or how much terrorism did France suffer in 2015? This is something, and how these people managed to carry out what they did against France, and how they have been succeeding, and how they've continued to grow, and how they continue to recruit, how they continue to persist, regardless of how much damage the first world or the democratic world may claim to inflict upon them. The problem here is not the guns in the hands of those who stand in front of cameras, making clips, making violent videos, and then disseminating them. That's not the problem. The number of guns, the people holding the guns, they're not the problem. The problem is the mindset that these people are able to hijack and play upon. The problem is the thought train that these people are successfully able to permeate and spread. And the problem is the ability of these people to influence, the ability of these people to manipulate, the ability of these people to recruit, and the ability of these people to survive through regeneration. We are not plugging the gap anywhere. Let's not make a mistake about it. We can talk about longevity. We can talk about delaying death. We can talk about all sorts of things. What good is any conversation about the future going to make if humanity does not have a future apart from what is the present in many parts of Syria today and many parts of Iraq today, because the sole objective of most organizations like Islamic State, most organizations like Al-Qaeda that continue to grow in numbers, that continue to grow in strengths within themselves, is simple. What they're doing in Iraq, what they're doing in Syria, they want to do everywhere where humanity exists on the face of this earth. That is their objective. There is nothing holy about what they're doing. There's nothing spiritual or religious about their intentions and motives. Their objectives are simple: loot, conquer, dominate, enslave, control, rule, be high, rape, kill, and die when they die without regrets or remorse, without purity. That's precisely all that they're about. That is precisely all that they are about. Leaders of organizations like ISIS and ISIL, they don't blow themselves up. Leaders of Al-Qaeda, they don't blow themselves up. They don't get into frontline battles. They don't get into pitched gunfights with police forces, with armies. Other people do. What the leaders do is they brainwash, they manipulate, they attract, they provide mental stimulation enough to delude, distract recruits. They do successfully recruit, and they deploy. Someone dies for these people in large numbers, and they kill others with them. And those who recruit these terrorists that die for the recruiters, for the leaders, They're probably living very, very good, protected lives, surrounded by bodyguards with anything and everything they need, in a cave somewhere, or in a building or a secret location somewhere, where, when Al Qaeda's founder, when Osama bin Laden was killed, the house that he had set up in Abbottabad was pretty much no less than a palatial mansion. That's the kind of lives that people like Osama bin Laden, al-Zawahiri, the founders of ISIS, those are the kind of lives that these people live. Before they die, or to the point that they die, they live out pretty good lives for themselves, while others die for them at the expense of the rest of the world. We have not done enough as a human race to address the propaganda of these people, the agendas of these people, and the successful communication means and strategies of these people, and which is why they are succeeding, which is why they have been able to circumnavigate everything we claim that we are doing at our level best to secure and safeguard our borders. Those of us who live in the democratic world, those of us who live in the first world, those of us who live in the developing world, time and time again, the bad guys always get around and inflict damage. They always succeed. Think about it this way. Recall November 2008 attacks in Mumbai. In 2015, exact same format of attacks played out in Paris. What does that tell you? We are failing to learn from our history, and the enemy is able to exploit. We can talk about all kinds of things in terms of future. We can talk about technological evolution, mass automation. We can talk about robotics. We can talk about generational change, where innovation will take us to new levels where there will be abundance. We can talk about longevity. We can talk about good health. But all that will only come if we survive and we get above and around the conflict that, like it or not, whether we admit it or not, we are very much drawn into, because someone has chosen not to leave the rest of us alone. This is the first part of my presentation today, and I want to leave you with this, because the future looks bleak for decades ahead. We have to admit that we are decades away from beating this enemy known as the terrorists, simply because we are not understanding that they are not simply about blowing up bombs strapped to their bodies, or the guns that they carry when they come through our alleys and our streets, shooting random people, innocent, random, bystanding people. That's not just what they are about. They are about a high that is very similar to what drugs and alcohol offer, that they derive from a meaning that is sold to them by brainwashing geniuses that we should not be underestimating, that find, or rather found this and start these terrorist organizations, where they leave the mundane, or they leave the dissatisfactions that they start out from somewhere, from any part of the world, from any kind of a background, and then they embrace this thought train, and then they graduate on, they proceed on to act on those thought trains without having depth enough of thought, regardless their education levels. They can be illiterate all the way to doctorate graduates, and they actually carry out these acts simply for the high of a thought, like a drug addict would act on a high of his narcotics, and someone else gains from it, with innocent people like you and I paying the price. The future ahead, until we realize the depth of this problem, until we are able to dissect the strategies effectively of the people who recruit such terrorists, train such terrorists, and deploy such terrorists to benefit at the expense of the world, until we do that, we are not going to get out of this conflict. We are not going to get out of the problem, and this problem is going to continue to grow. And until and unless we effectively not just confront the arms in the hands of these individuals, but also the messages that these people work on, that they act on, and that they benefit from, we're not going to be on a winning trajectory. And that is very, very frightening a prospect. That is a very frightening prospect that we'll face in the years and decades ahead. It's a long protracted war. It's already started. If we have not felt it, it's just that it's not come to our doorsteps yet. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, unless we deal with this conflict appropriately. And I'm going to leave this part of my presentation open-ended. The next issue ahead that we need to look at in terms of the future of humanity, the course ahead, is of course health. Dr. Stamler gave us a very thorough, very detailed, very explanatory presentation on anti-aging or aging or longevity specifically. And he also mentioned at some point in his presentation that if we deal with aging, we delay or we deal with a lot of diseases or sickness or a lot of problems that come with aging. Fair enough, I have nothing to disagree with on that. But I also have to, as a futurist, fundamentally I'm a systems thinker. And systems thinking tells me that, okay, we also have to look at the reverse side of the coin, or we have to switch the positions of the horse and the cart. What we need to look at in terms of health and aging and longevity is this, that we age as our bodies start dying because there are certain other elements apart from the positives that act as the negatives within our bodies, and these are the sicknesses, the diseases, the viruses, the bacteria, the infections, whatnot, that take a toll on our bodies and that cause the deterioration which translates then into aging. If this makes sense. And this is where I find that humanity today has taken a trajectory, taken a path in how it approaches health, how it approaches medicine, how it approaches pharmaceuticals, pharmacology. And I believe this is my take, and I'll justify this in a moment. My take is we are off tangent. We are on the wrong course. We are on the wrong trajectory. The trajectory we are on now was relevant, was right for a certain period of time in our past, but at present and going into the future, this is the wrong one. We need to do some fixing. We need to step out of this picture. We need to apply the freeze frame technique. We need to question what we are doing, and we need to change course, and we need to change it fast. Let me explain. We know how the human genome works. We understand the human DNA. We know how cell structures work, right? We know how viruses work. We know how bacteria work. In 2015, it's 2016 now, in 2015, we did not have a cure for AIDS. That is a shame. Because we've understood the human genome, we've known cell structures, we've known DNA, we've understood atoms for a while now. We've understood the different types of viruses out there for a while now. We've understood the immune system for a while now. In 2015, the world did not have a cure for AIDS. Let alone that, the world did not have a universal prevention for AIDS. Okay, let's move that aside. The world does not yet have a prevention or immunization against STDs. Let's move that aside. The world still pursues chemotherapy or radiation therapy for cancer treatment. We do not yet have immunization or some form of therapy to predispose us or prevent us from contracting cancers in the first place. Do not get me wrong, I'm not an immortalist, what they call, forgive me, I can't even pronounce that word properly. I'm not what they call themselves immortalists. I'm not one of them. I do not believe that the human body can be immortal. I think anything that is physically constructed of any forms of elements or atoms or whatnots in this universe, anything at all as such, is ultimately perishable. the human being is ultimately perishable. There will come a time when humanity will ultimately have to be, for one reason or another, be extinct. There will come a time when each and every one of us will have to die. I do not believe that lifespans can be extended indefinitely. I do not believe that's possible. It's not empirical. It's not objective. And I don't even want to get into a debate with those who may claim otherwise, because if they were objective enough human beings, they would not have ever started on that topic or discourse. But let's talk about what's in hand. Let's talk about what we know. We understand the human body. We understand what we are made up of. We understand how we are made up. And there is so much we can do about that. And we are still dealing with, okay, if this happens, we'll deal with it like this, with this medicine, with this drug. Okay, our research and development and our innovation is on the trajectory of improving these things, lowering the cost of these drugs and being able to profit more of these drugs, or improving the effects of these, or reacting to the changes that are happening in the market, or in society, or in the human body, or the changes that are happening with the mutating or evolving bacteria or viruses or infections or whatnot. We are taking a reactive approach along a course where it's not sustainable. Let me tell you why. How do antibiotics work? Antibiotics work by administration, intravenous or oral or whatnots, into a human body to counter negative bacteria. Over a course of time, these bacteria in an individual or across individuals around the world, they evolve, they mutate, they've been changing. This has been happening throughout time. And gradually, it becomes impossible for the same level of antibiotic or the same type of antibiotic to counter effectively or efficiently these particular types of bacteria. So what do? You evolve, you synthesize or change or upgrade those antibiotics to come up with new forms, or you increase the dosage, so on and so forth. How long is that sustainable? There'll come a point where all the major forms of bacteria that you have, all these variety of antibiotics out there, these bacteria are ultimately going to grow so strong, they're going to evolve to a point that they're going to be completely immune to any and every type of antibiotic we know today, or we could develop fast enough to counter them ahead at some point. What does that mean? We are feeding the evolution of the very killer that we are trying to fight to prolong our lives, the negative bacteria. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medical professional, I'm not a bioscientist, I'm not a pharmacologist. I'm simply applying systems thinking to common sense and common knowledge about these industries, about these professions, about these sciences. Viruses are mutating because we are trying to react to the viruses as they evolve, as they emerge, or wherever they show up. But we are not trying to work on ways to improve the human body, the human experience, the human existence, that we become we become immune to these viruses in the first place. We're not trying to come up with solutions as such. We're not trying to proact, but we are only trying to constantly react. We have multiple pandemics right now. We've got Zika, we've got the AIDS pandemic that nobody even talks about anymore because the world is so tired of talking about that one pandemic for decades at end. It's continuing to spread uncontrolled. What do you think happens? When people are sick with these viruses, their immune systems are damaged and they become susceptible to other types of diseases that are, well, easy to spread. They're contagious. So other people get those diseases from them and their bodies deteriorate because of the experience of those diseases or those infections and whatnots that are contagious. You see the point? Basically, while on one hand we are talking about means of extending life and delaying aging, on the other hand, the very basics, what we need to do to deter our bodies from deteriorating that would ultimately lead to aging, we're not doing at all. We're not taking the right steps at all. We are not fighting the pandemics effectively because you're not proacting. We are not using the knowledge that's already in hand fast enough to counter these things and wipe them out. We are not doing what is necessary to fight the mutating viruses by, well, precluding our susceptibility to these viruses in the first place. We are not doing anything to preclude ourselves from bacterial infections in the first place. We are not trying to come up with therapies to preclude ourselves from ever having congenital problems. Basically, what it means is before a child is born, the child undergoes some sort of intervention in the mother's womb rather, to make sure that the child is born into this world without any risk of carrying into the world a certain type of congenital weakness or congenital problem, right? We're not doing any of that. And this is why we are off tangent, we are off a trajectory. So ultimately, what have I spoken to you about today? Two things. One, we have not yet countered effectively the ideology or the intellectual capability or the messaging strategies of the terrorists that are causing a lot of problems and are likely to continue growing, to continue causing greater, more widespread problems in greater geographical areas, and ultimately the problems that they are creating, they will bring to pretty much the doorsteps of every nation in the world at the rate that they are going. That is threatening our existence, and that is threatening any reason why we would want to have a future for ourselves and our future generations. And I've also talked to you about how, in terms of health, while on one hand we are trying to claim a lot of victories over certain types of evolutions of bacteria or certain types of new diseases that show up. We go, okay, now we found a way to contain this. We continue to react, but we are not proacting to preempt or to solve certain long-standing issues that are threatening our long-term existence. If you would like to know more, this is how I may be contacted if you're not part of this conference today, but you're going to watch this later, the recorded version of it. I work at Stratsev Consultancy, which I founded, started in 2013, more than 3 years in the business now. And look up our resources by finding us with a simple Google search. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Haris. Thank you for your talk. And your point is quite irritating, and you can quite something to point of debate, especially in, with those people who are debating on another side with another things. So, but still, I would like maybe Dr. Ilya Stambler can answer something about you talk about the health. I think he can answer better on those points, and it will be. I really like to listen about what you will say about them. Yeah, please.
Yes, absolutely. You know, now I absolutely have to tell something. I have to respond. First of all, I agree with you in one thing. Yes, we're not doing enough. There is absolutely no question about it. But that's the difference between the optimist and the pessimist. The glass is 50%. Is 50% full or empty? So it's there. It's 50%. But you say it's empty. I say it's full. But the state of affairs is it's actually 50% this way or the other. Yes, we're not doing enough. Yes, we're not investing enough in preventive medicine. Yes, we are trying to seek for magic bullets for particular diseases, and diseases are often not even entities; they are just manifestations of some underlying basic process of health impairment. And I related to this even in my talk. So even in my talk, there were at least 2, 3, or 4 research directions that are aimed directly at to increase the preventive emphasis. First of all, the thymus regeneration. That's the paradigmatic case. That's your basic idea of increasing your own immune system, of own immune response by increasing the production of T cells, by regeneration, by rejuvenation, from within, not from without. Secondly, the idea of boosting the immune response, the idea of combating inflammation. All these research directions are there. Do we do enough to advance those research directions? Absolutely not. Absolutely, we have to. It's actually our main point of advocacy that we do have to shift the emphasis of health research from the drugs, a particular drug against a particular disease paradigm, to the more preventive anti-aging paradigm, life-extending paradigm. And so I agree, but you know, I agree on the full side of the glass. Secondly, yes, there are massive health problems. There are epidemics, but things are actually not as bleak as they may look. The Ebola virus, the Ebola epidemics that threatened to wipe out half of the world was effectually suppressed. There is no more Ebola epidemics. It's been a declared fact. It was, the World Health Community killed it in a couple of years very effectively. The AIDS incidence was brought down to a very minimum. If you remember, if we were alive in 1986, when it started, we thought we were all going to die. The humanity was about to end in exactly 2.5 years out of AIDS. No one was going to stay alive. Now it's 2016. The AIDS virus was brought to almost a halt. There are very effective cocktails against AIDS. It's becoming available in a large measure thanks to India. It was thanks to India that this anti-AIDS cocktails became available for poor people. Thanks to the use of generic medicine. That's another part of the problem that you don't mention. The medicine for the rich is not the medicine for the poor, and that's why I personally think that India has a huge role in the development of the future of humanity, exactly because of this purpose, because of this reason, because of the ability to make therapies available for poor people. As it proved in the past with AIDS medications, and so basically people in Africa now use the research and development that was thanks to India, right? So all these problems are there. The great health divide between the haves and haves not, the mutating viruses, but once again. All these problems are material problems. They have a material cause. If you have a material cause, you can also devise a material means against it, right? They are not some God's scourge. They are not some some punishment for our sins. They are material processes, and we can combat them with material sins, with material means, with science, basically. And also with regard to terrorism, yes, it is a huge problem, but also, if I may connect it to longevity issue, a lot of the problem comes from the fact that these are very young people. And a lot of this extremist thinking is simply the hormones playing. I'm also talking, very politically incorrect and the gloves off, it's terrible what's being done, but and it's terrible that even people from the West, from Europe, volunteer for those extremist organizations, for the terrorist organizations. But let's be frank, sometimes they're simply bored in Europe. They don't have much to talk about with the old people, and they just want to go there and fight somebody. They just want some adventure in their life, and that's a very big part of this ideologies that also allows the manipulators, to direct those healthy hormones to destructive means, and. As biologists, as longevity advocates, we have to understand, first of all, that we should probably give those people a better goal in life than to kill other people. Maybe, I don't know, advance longevity research, become a health activist. I don't know. If you want to demonstrate on streets, please demonstrate to increase funding for a National Institute of Aging. And secondly, this problem itself may diminish very rapidly with aging population. As you see, what happened in Ireland, this entire violent insurgence ended simply because people grew older. They had to pay the mortgages. They didn't have the interest in fighting the oppressors, or basically they continue they continue to fight the oppressors, but from strengthening themselves, not by killing others. So I think a part of the solution will be simply that the society will be more aging, more long-lived, more healthy maybe. So once again, the problem is there, but the solutions are also there. So that's my rebuttal, if it was of any help.
Thank you for answering, and Harish would like to say something.
Okay, I mean let's just yes, sorry, can you hear me? Yep. Okay. Yeah. What I'd like to make very clear. Yes. Okay. Yeah. You told me there's a number of cocktails available to treat certain types of diseases, like for example AIDS and all that. But let's be very clear. You have Dr. Stamler has just conceded and accepted, has acknowledged that not enough is being done, right? And I think that's pretty much the primary focus of that part of my presentation, in the sense that, look, at the end of the day, 2015, we did not have a cure for AIDS. It's not good enough. Why? Because the amount of knowledge, the amount of resources in hand, at least the intellectual resources, the theoretical resources that's already in hand, that not being utilized enough to treat something as major as that. And then, okay, maybe the rate of spread of certain types of pandemics, after a certain peak, it moves towards the trough. That happens, yes, that happens, yeah, even with the economy. But let's get very real. The problems are there, and if a lot of these problems are not being talked about, it's not because they're small, or it's not because they're not big enough. It's just that we are very, very, very tired. Abu Sayyaf in the Philippines have got a fresh bunch of Western hostages that they're holding for ransom. And how often do we read about that in the papers as compared to back in the 90s when they did that, taking hostages from Langkawi in Malaysia? Why aren't we reading that much about it now? Because people have just grown very, very tired of their antics and their behavior and their conduct and their atrocities and their killings and the bloodletting and whatnots. But that does not mean the problem's gone. The problem is there. And what I'm trying to get at today is very simple. Yes, I agree with Dr. Stamler, there's a solution to everything. I agree with him that yes, there are people working on it. He's one of them himself, right? Of them, he's one himself. He's there doing this research. He's trying to work on solutions. But he himself has to admit and acknowledge that, look, funds are lacking, support is lacking, awareness is lacking, willpower is lacking on all fronts at every level. You're looking at the man all the way to powers that be in governments that should be making those decisions, should have the will to further those causes. The lack is there, and that's what I'm trying to get at, that until we plug those shortcomings, those lacks, until we plug those holes, these problems are not going to go away, number one. Number two, the problems are not going to stop growing. Number three, these problems are going to continue to threaten our existence. And number four, they will get to a stage where they may either, if they don't end our existence, they would end the very reasons why we would seek to prolong our own existence. For example, I would not want to live under Al-Shabaab. I would not want to live under ISIS. I would not want to live under the Taliban. That's not the kind of life I look forward to. That's not the kind of life I would want for my subsequent generations, my descendants. That's not what I want. So those reasons would then be gone if we don't deal with them effectively. Now, moving on to what Dr. Stamler was saying about terrorism, I don't know whether it was in jest or I'm sure there's some scientific proof as well that hormones lead human beings to do certain things. But let me clarify certain things. I mean, okay, I'm not talking about conflicts the sort that Europe has seen in terms of Basque separatists or the Irish separatists in the past. That's not what I'm talking about anymore. I'm not talking about country to country conflict that led to World War One and World War Two anymore. Those sort of wars are over. They're gone. They're history. They're not coming back. The type of war we are in now that most of us are not acknowledging, vast majority are not acknowledging, no government is acknowledging, is the war we are at because we are sucked into it against our wills, against our desires by people like Hamas, that Israel is very familiar with, by people like Hezbollah, people like ISIL, people like Abu Sayyaf, people like Al Qaeda, Taliban. I can go on listing them forever, and it's very, very tiring. You don't even want to remember these names, but they're there. If they don't attack a mall in Kenya, they blow things up in Timbuktu, in Mali. They turn up one place or another. They at some points they cut 3 continents in the same day to tell people we are there, we are here, and we are coming for you again and again, and we are willing to die for this because we don't mind the people we see as God sent. We see as God sent because they give us a high. We don't mind dying for them because we know that people will continue dying for them after us until they get to rule and rape everybody. As brute as that sounds, as crude as that is, but that's just how it is. Pure fact, plain fact. I'm not a journalist. I'm not a politician. I don't need to be politically correct or appropriate. I just need to be factual. I just need to be empirical. I just need to be objective because I'm a futurist, and that's exactly what I'm being right now. Let me further this conversation. I did leave that part of my presentation earlier open-ended. I was expecting this sort of a debate. I was expecting certain questions because that's what a futurist gets a kick out of, right? So here it is. When a child is born in one of these families, from the first moment they talk to the child before that child's learned to talk, they are filling the child with indoctrination that you were born to wipe out a class of people. What is that class of people? People who worship or prescribe or identify according to a certain faith known as Judaism. That's what you were born to do. You were born to wipe out Jews from the face of this planet. If you can't do that, then at least kill one before you die, or die trying. There are children, and I'm not talking about one child, I'm not talking about 10 children, I'm not talking about 100 children, I'm talking about lots of children every day born into those realities, raised to be indoctrinated that the very purpose and reason of their birth is so that they wipe out Jews or they kill Jews. Until that does not end, until 200 nations do not have their governments come together collectively to acknowledge this problem, and they resolve that, okay, we're not going to wait, we're not going to have a 1-year plan, 5-year plan, or 15-year plan, but we're going to have a 1-day plan to wipe this out. We're going to stamp this today, and we're going to finish it. Until that does not happen, this problem is only going to continue to grow, and is going to cause greater and greater problems more at a more accelerated pace ahead for the next 5 years, next 15 years, and then the next 30 years for all of us, wherever we live, whatever our social status, whatever our backgrounds, it's going to grow. That's just talking about children that are indoctrinated to kill Jews. There are children in India, you would know this, Avinash, it's just that nobody will talk about it. There are children that are born in that country that are indoctrinated from the time they're born to the time they become sensible youths to hate their own country. How do you think homegrown terrorists emerge from India, like Afzal Guru? How do you think that comes about? That needs to be addressed. And don't be mistaken. Terrorists use any means. The very people they claim to hate, they will employ them to work for them. Why do you think there are so many people who claim to be of a different religion from what Afzal Guru claimed to be of, who marched on the streets to say that their country, their very own country, has committed an injustice in hanging him for wanting to kill members of your country's parliament? That happened in your country, Avinash, in India. That is absolute garbage, and 200 countries in the world can't come together to agree that that's absolute garbage and that garbage needs to be taken out. And that is causing this problem to be prolonged. That is causing this problem to be protracted. That is causing this problem to continue to grow. That is causing this problem to do more and more and more damage. That's bad for business. That is definitely bad for politics of any country in the world, not just one country where it occurs, but in every country of the world. That is definitely bad for all society, all human society. That's pretty much bad for bad news for subsequent generations. I can go on giving these examples because the kind of problems you're looking at right now, why people are misbehaving, we're not talking about the average disgruntled teenager in New York or another state in the US that takes his father's gun and goes to shoot his teacher in school. That's bad enough a problem. That equally is a bad problem that needs to be solved. But it's not as big as the one that I'm talking about here, the Taliban, the ISIS, the Al-Qaeda, and whatnot. And let's not make a mistake. These are not competing organizations. These are not Apple and IBM going against each other. This is not Microsoft versus Oracle. This is not Facebook or Google. That's not how this works. At the end of the day, they're all one. They all know that there is a large pie to be shared. You do damage in that geography, I do damage in this one. We share the world. We take everybody down. If they are not willing to accept us as their rulers, we continue haunting and hurting them. And there are people financing these people because they have other ulterior objectives and deeper agendas of their own. Where do you think funds for these things come from? We need to question these things. These are deep, important questions that need to be asked, and then they need to be addressed appropriately. And these people then use finance not just to buy guns or make bombs or recruit people to carry out attacks. They're also spending money to get people to speak for them through press, on the streets, on social media. You know that photograph of that 3-year-old boy that died while trying to sneak into Europe with his parents on a beach, that led to a tsunami of sympathy that caused an emotional blackmail of sorts upon Europe to open its borders towards the influx of migrants from the Middle East. Did it not seem like just too well coordinated to be a random event of of sympathy because an unfortunate incident has happened. The way it came across, the kind of reach it had in a very short time, the overwhelming pressure and the sequence of events, they were just too well organized. And in one mass asked the question, did any European authority or any world authority, any national authority anywhere in the world actually investigate where the coordination of those messaging efforts were coming from? Who was the originator? Who was influencing the dialogue, that conversation that led to that sort of a social and emotional pressure upon certain governments? We need to question that. There has to be a tie somewhere. And even if there wasn't, these people really need to be shut up because they're doing really as much, if not more damage than those people who carried out the Paris attacks. We are losing this war. Let's not make a mistake. And that's why this is a serious issue. And that's why I thought it's best to bring this up today, because this is shaping our future. This is a factor in our future ahead. And it's becoming a factor in a very nasty future ahead until we realize that this could be our future, and we decide we don't want to be our future, and we act to make sure that we have a different future.
The point you are
Once
making.
again, just want to say just one word. Once again, there is a problem. There is a solution. The glass is either half empty, half full. We just have to put the glass on the table so everybody will see it. I think we can both agree on this.
Absolutely, Ilya. I mean, yes, no one, either when it comes to health or medicine or pharmacology or bioscience or life extension or anti-aging or anti-death or whatnot, or anti-terrorism or law enforcement or defense, I don't suppose there's anybody in the world that's really sitting idle if it's not their job to be idle on it. And I'm sure, or even if there are people who are sitting idle on it, even if there are corrupt people who are working against the cause rather than for the cause, I'm sure that there are people like yourself, as I said, Dr. Sandler, who are working very hard on furthering the cause, on furthering the improvements, who are working on the solutions. I'm sure people are. But again, I think what we agree on is exactly as you said. That's my objective of getting across today. It's still just not enough. We're not doing enough. The point is that on just too many issues at too many levels, the glass is exactly as you put it, still just at half full. But I understand that there are many things in this world, in existence, in life, in economy, in society, in politics, in science, in technology, that will always be half full. But there are a lot of areas that where we cannot afford the glass to be half full beyond a certain period of time, where we'll need that glass to be completely full, either just with air or with a substance that is liquid and not air. If you get what I mean, that there has to be a point where we need to finish the race, like as we did with smallpox at some point in our time, in the human story, right? Just as that, some problems need to be stopped. For example, at some point of World War One, the glass was half full. The glass was full when the war was over, so that war had to end. At some point in World War Two, the glass was half full. That war had to end, and then the glass was full. Just as the same, there are certain problems, there's specific problems right now we have, both in the directions of how we are approaching human health and how we are approaching human conflict, particularly to do with terrorism. Um, the glass needs to get to full, and if it cannot be reached today, tomorrow, next week, one fortnight later, a month later, a quarter later, a year later, or a decade later, at least at some point that's reasonable, it needs to get full before it becomes full the other way. You know that either way is going to be full. It's a matter of what it's going to be full of or full with, and there's one way in which we can afford it to be full. There's another we cannot afford it to be full, because if it's halfway now, we can afford it. We can try to work on filling it with what we want it to be full of today before it's too late and someone succeeds in filling it up with something else that we don't want. So that's what I want to get across today. So yes, I'm completely in agreement with you as to the glass being half full. I am also completely in agreement with pretty much everything you said today as part of your own presentation and in response to mine. I personally, I do not have a debate against or your inputs or what you've brought to the table today or to this conference today. But what I'm trying to say is that exactly the point is we need to focus on what you just said about things being half full and that they're not done enough. We just want, my proposal as a futurist, or I would rather have to strongly say as a futurist, is that we need those things to happen faster, and as fast as we can. We needed a lot of these solutions last year or the year before. Now is already too late, but better late than never. Let's get to them.
Good.
Harish, you are really making a very important issue and you are raising a question against so many people out there. And yeah, it's a very important thing to think, understand, and more importantly, act, like you say, as early as possible. But like Elia saying that the half glass full and half glass is empty. Here's the same case actually. We are talking here, but we don't know another part of the story very well, especially in terms of terrorism and those people who acting against it, those government, those agencies of different country acting against those kind of terrorist and terrorism organization. There are really effective way taken against him. But yeah, like you say, it's not completely wipe out. I mean, it's still a problem. It's still something to handle as much as possible to clean up completely, because the cleanup is needed. It's like even one virus is there, then it can, create the multiple copies of himself. I mean, the terrorism, and can spread very quickly outside. And the thing like doctrine the people or the child when they are very small, in some term, education already solving this problem automatically. People more educated, people more understand humanity, people more understand technology. Automatically, his thinking develop in the way that he understand by himself that what he learned and what he's doing and what needed is different. And even I just read a report a couple of weeks ago, I guess, that around there are about 6 to 7 countries where the religion kind of doctrine practice, I would say, is going to disappear. Country like Australia, country like some European country and some other place. And some way these thoughts, these doctrine practice coming from religious practice. And like you say, Judas was to kill Jews or something like that, what I'm trying to say. So things are going on automatically some way, naturally some way, and also some agencies and people are taking steps. And in the history to now, we know that bad people in numbers always more than the good people. So you can easily see the bad people around you, but the good people, when raise hand against it, it easily wipe out all bad people. Very good example we have in India for it, like um, I would not say Britishers are bad and Mahatma Gandhi kind of people. I mean, those kind of leader, when grow up and take against action of those kind of things, then yeah, it will be happen. Sometimes it's not easy to see, sometimes it's not easy to understand, but things are going on, and hopefully more faster, more positively, and wish for better future for our descendants and ourselves also.
Yes, absolutely. That's yeah, that's precisely how we hope. We want things to be better. I'm just praying that the sort of attacks that happened in Mumbai 2008, we don't see another one again. Unfortunately, we did last year in Paris. Um, Hopefully, another one like that, we don't see it again. Recently, there was something that happened in Jakarta, Indonesia. That was very, very close to where I am in Singapore. There were certain Singaporeans, some people I've met in my life, I've known, who were stationed or working in Jakarta at the time on the day, pretty close to where those events played out. A business partner of mine was in Thailand when the Bangkok bombings happened not too long ago. And this is all pretty close to home. And very recently, some people got deported from Singapore for joining an organization of terrorist nature or were partaking in discussions along those lines. So that got very close to home from where I am. And so this what I'm trying to say is yes, I absolutely agree with you, Vinash. Again, no debate in the sense that yes, I'm sure there are people, as I was mentioning earlier, whether it's on the health front or defense front or security front, there are definitely people who are very sincerely working very hard on these things. But okay, are we addressing the very roots, like for example the type of indoctrination that despite the education is happening? Like I'm sure that there isn't the sort of education that we just heard from you about, or we talked about perhaps in certain Middle Eastern territories where I mentioned earlier that you're born to wipe out people of a certain religion or ethnicity or whatnots, right? And um, we are doing nothing. Um, we're doing nothing to kind of separate um, any form of label or identity, such as whether it's religion or ethnic or whatever, from the really wrong, drastic, evil acts that these people carry out. We're not doing anything, and effectively we kind of give them credibility by acknowledging what they claim. You get me? That's still not being done. So what I'm trying to say is that yes, of course, again, I don't debate with anything that you're saying, Avinash, because you're right. Well, everything that you said is absolutely true. But are certain other factors besides, okay, the movement of weapons, for example, or use of intelligence to identify who's sympathizing with who's likely to carry out an attack. Besides that, are we actually targeting the communication of the messaging, the kind of message these people carry, or the ideology of these people? You know, how these brainwashing processes succeed. Are we actually addressing that to prevent people from actually agreeing with these terrorist organizations in the first place, to stop people from actually ever wanting to fantasize or aspire to emulate? What have we? How far have we gotten since September 11, 2001? It's 15 years now. They've done really significant damage. You know how many lives has that cost? I mean, if you look at just the last 3 years, Islamic State, how many lives has this organization previously never heard of? How many lives has it already taken to date? Do you get what I mean? Let's forget about that. You know, Hamas and Hezbollah, how long have they kept Israel tied up with so much nonsense, and peace can never befall the Middle East? You know, how long are we going to continue that? Because how far? My question is simple. In response to what you just asked and what you tried to point out, which I don't disagree with, but the problem with what you brought up, Avinash, why we must agree with it because it's logical. The question still remains, and which is why I presented as I presented today. And forgive me, I do not mean to sound as passionate as I did today while presenting, and as well in my responses. It's just that I tend to speak very freely. I don't rehearse my speeches, and I don't intend to sound good when I speak. I just speak as I speak, meaning what I say wherever I go, however I speak, whether it's a corporate presentation with a client or at a conference in person, or depending on the topic. You know, I can be very hilarious when I'm talking on a lighter subject. Of course, you know, when I'm talking about the hotel industry or aviation industry, it's a different atmosphere altogether. But when we talk about the future of humanity, and I thought it really needs to be spoken about, especially when you talk about future day. What's its purpose, right? Right. So since this was a topic, it came out. So I'm sorry if it came out a little too passionately than anticipated. But the question that primarily is, how far have we gotten so far, and why are we taking so long? So what sort of security and assurance do I, as a citizen of the world, one of 7 billion plus people in the world, what assurance do I have that we're actually going to get there if in the last 15 years nothing has really changed, rather than numbers of terrorist operators in the world have just ballooned? I mean, let's get honest, right? Like, were there as many terrorists in the world fighting the kind of cause that ISIS is wanting to fight 15 years ago when September 11 happened as they are today? ISIS today far outnumbers Al-Qaeda and Taliban combined back in 2001, probably. Looking at the scale of their operations, the scale of their occupation, and how they're operating in numbers in those territories where they're most active, right? That's the kind of question we need to ask. How come the sympathizers are just growing bolder, louder, and more in numbers? I mean, look at Facebook, right? Like like every time there's a terrorist attack in a first world country, it's like, okay, because someone attacked a Middle East country first. But when a Middle East country has an aerial drone strike, nobody ever says, oh, that's because Paris was attacked, because there was a Madrid bombing, because there was a London bombing. No one ever says that. And these people keep growing in numbers, keep getting more vocal, and no one does anything to shut them up. And then the terrorist numbers keep swelling. You get what I mean? So why? I mean, last 15 years. Let's not talk about anything before the last 15 years, from September 11 to, let's say, 2016. Why are things not improving, in the sense that the numbers of the bad guys, or people sympathizing with the bad guys, decreases? And why does that not happen? You know, you get what I mean? That's or of course the argument will be that because the world's population is growing, so the terrorist numbers grow as well, right?
No, Harish, if I may, I won't. Just let me mute you for a second. I wouldn't paint it so black and white. After all, we're all people, and the so-called terrorists are all people, also people. And it's not the evil versus good, the white versus black. There are certain objective causes why this is happening. Yes, the demographics is a very big part of the problem. Yes, there are very young people who have no way to apply themselves. That's a part of the problem. Yes, there is a huge economic problem in this part of the world, which makes people even take up arms and maybe fight for what they think is justice. Why they have it worse than somebody else in some other part of the world, or with some other religion, or some other social status. So there are certain causes for why this is happening. Yes, there's some pure evil behind some of this. Just the desire to kill people, to destroy. But there are also very important, mechanisms why this is happening, and we have to study those mechanisms and try to address them, even by economic means, not just by education. So once again, there are problems, and there are possible solutions that we have to advance. And the example with Gandhi is just perfect. I think that's the kind of approach we have to take. That's not violence is not the solution, or not always the solution. Sometimes it is a solution, but also the more a reasoned approach. Unmute yourself. I'm sorry, I muted you for a second.
No, it's okay. No, that's fine. I was just trying to find the key. What I'm trying to say is that yes, I mean, this is an ongoing debate that cannot end on this platform, Doc. I mean, really, because it's a heavy, extensive debate, and it's something that's been playing out for a while, and it's now peaking, because now more so than ever it really matters. For example, I was one of those who believed that the strategy of Europe to open its borders was wrong, because uh, there was a lot of pre-planning. There was probably a conspiracy somewhere where Europe will get infiltrated, and the sort of attacks we saw in Europe play out last year, particularly in France, would eventually definitely play out. And lo and behold, after the Paris attacks, they found that some of the attackers at least had infiltrated, uh, posing as refugees through that route. After the sympathies poured in because social media was flooded with the image of the corpse of a dead 3-year-old boy. You get what I mean? As a futurist, I saw it coming. I warned, but it had to happen, I guess. And even then, even despite that, have 200 nations in the world. Okay, let's say at least let's talk at least about the democratic in the world. At least learn the lessons collectively. Time will tell, and I hope they have. I really hope they have, because there's a lot to engage on. There's a lot to address. There's a lot that needs to be looked at, that where the enemy should not be underestimated. That that the world needs to be careful on, because if it happens once, okay, happens twice, okay, happens 3 times, okay, what can you do about it? But we've been seeing so much the last 15 years. If we just start from September 11, this is a 15-year anniversary this year. Then we have to start asking the question whether we are learning the lessons, because it seems like the enemy is learning from the past that we don't learn from our history, and they continue to repeat, and we continue falling to them. Yeah, you get what I mean? So this is a debate that's hard to end. It's hard to conclude. Yes, of course there'll be arguments against what I'm saying even now, right? And then we continue in the dialogue. I mean, we can be here talking about this for 6 months before we come to any middle ground, because it's that big an issue and that big a subject and topic. Of course, as a futurist, I study a lot of things. That I look at how different technologies are emerging, how technologies are converging, how social trends are changing, and then of course, this is one minute. Pretty much, truth be told, everything I talked about today is pretty much insignificant to the work I do, but it factors in. But you look at the long course ahead, if you look at the entire human population, you look at what's important, then it starts to feature, not as my work, but in terms of its importance to human society. It's not minute anymore. It's a lot more significant. In fact, it's as significant in its importance to human society if it's concerned with its future, as opposed to how minute it is or how insignificant it is in its importance to my day-to-day work as a futurist, right? But I guess I've played both roles here today. I've played that of both a futurist and that of a human being who's concerned about the future of the human race, right? So that's what I've tried to bring to the table today. But as a futurist, if you look at how we study these things and how we assess these things and how we assess the risks ahead and scenarios ahead, um, then this is something I've been observing for a very long time. Because as a futurist, like I don't do anything else other than literally observe. More than 15%, more than 50% of my work day every day is to be on 20-25 browsers or browser windows open on my laptop with like sheets of paper surrounding me, just observing and noting, monitoring, dissecting, analyzing things as they happen every day, and then compare them to what has happened before. Basically, more than 50% of my work day is about monitoring what's happening in the world, scanning and picking things up, observing. In layman's speak, simply observing. That's what I do. So, if you talk about patterns of how the human conflict, particularly democracy versus terrorism, how this has been happening, I've been observing for a very, very long time. So it's a long, complex issue. It takes a long amount of time to observe, let alone dissect and analyze and whatnot. Can we come to a conclusion in one debate, in one conference, and on one platform like this one? We can't. And first and foremost, everything that, again, what you're saying, Ilya, there's nothing to debate because it's true. I agree with you. You get what I mean? It's absolutely true. There's nothing for me to disagree with what you're saying. What I'm saying is that these questions need to be asked, and the question I'm asking today, and I'm hoping everyone else is asking, especially those people that matter because they have the power to do something about it, is are we asking the right questions as to how we deal with the right issues, apart from just, yes, making sure that these people don't sneak into our homes with their guns. First and foremost, how do we cut the recruitment? How do we cut the supply of dissemination? How do we block the communication traffic? Are we asking enough questions in that direction and then answering those questions and acting on those answers? Because why these questions become valid today is because I think what happened in 2015, after the lessons that should have been apparent and blatantly clear after what happened in Mumbai in 2008, really raises these questions, validates these questions. And until further ahead in time, we can see a period where, okay, these things cannot be repeated, which I mean, it's hard to draw a timeline on, hard to have a yardstick for. The questions will remain valid because, I mean, seriously, after Mumbai happened, after the attack on Taj and Oberoi, Paris attack last year, the way they played out should not have happened. As plainly put as that, they should not have happened. Because, I mean, if you do a comparative, France has a much more sophisticated, a very different security system, police system than Mumbai city does. No offense to the Mumbai police force or authorities, whatnot. At least that of 2008, Paris should have been a lot better prepared. Any country in the world should have learned something from there, should have known that this can happen at a doorstep. It did happen. You get what I mean? Of course, it's nothing is foolproof. Am I saying we should expect something out of our governments that terrorist attacks don't happen at all? I think that would be too much to ask for because we'll always be vulnerable because terrorism is something that can happen anytime, anywhere to anyone. There's no foolproof plan to deter that, to stop it, to avert it. It's not possible to be completely immune to it. I have to agree with that. But the way things have been happening, it seems that the enemy is winning, in terms of how it's thinking, how it's planning, how it's building its future as compared to the future we want to build for ourselves as democratic people, democratic-minded people, as civilized people. as right-minded, law-abiding people, it seems they're winning, and we can't afford them to win. And that's why these questions are there. So that's what I'm bringing to the table. But yes, this debate will continue. This debate will go on. Again, there'll be something to oppose or rebut against what I just said. You know, but it needs study for some time to understand why these scenarios, as I've tried to paint, are very feasible. Are indeed very feasible unless we do something very serious, very concrete to make sure that, okay, even if they play out, they still won't be effective in helping the enemy in winning the final battle and in winning the whole war that they have dragged us into, that we will eventually wipe them out before they enslave us. You know, therefore the questions. Therefore this. Therefore my bringing this conversation to the table today.
Thank you, Harish, to raising one very important issue which also belongs to our future, rather than successful science progress for the future. This is also a very important issue, and yeah, we should understand, talk, especially in the scientific community about it, because they are also very important role to set in the future. And yeah, this is something another black face of the future, which could be happen if we will not act today. Thank you for your those important points and issues to bringing here today on the Future Day occasion. Thank you.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
yeah. So I think we could conclude our Future Day today here, and thank you for those watching out there, and thank you all speakers, especially Harisha and Dr. Ilya Stambler, to join in India Future Society on the occasion of Future Day. Thank you for
And
joining today. Yeah.
once again, thank you, Avinash. Thank you. Once again, thank you for what you're doing for perseverance. That's the kind of attitude that will win, that will ensure that the future proceeds in the right way. Even if our power is small, you know, compared to all the atrocities, all the massive force of evil that around us, we keep our path. You know, we keep our ground. So I think that's the answer. That's the solution. So thanks again, and this meeting is a part of this trend. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ilya.
Dr. Stambler, thank you for your presentation, and it's always a pleasure and honor to be in your audience and whatnot. And it's thanks for the conversation we just had as well. It's enriching. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Harish.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye bye.